The Skarn were a race without equal in the galaxy, hailing from the planet Diggle, where only the strongest survived from the moment of birth. Each Skarn was taught to believe they were the apex predators of the universe. Their society thrived on the principle that all other creatures and species existed only to be hunted, conquered, or consumed. It was a brutal world where the weak perished quickly, leaving only the cunning and powerful to ascend. This tradition forged the Skarn into a fearsome civilization, their reputation spreading terror across countless galaxies. With ruthless efficiency, they carved a path of destruction, treating war not as a necessity but as a sport, a chance to prove their superiority. Their fleets, armed with the most advanced weapons and commanded by deadly warriors, transformed the conquest of each new world into a game of trophies. When the Skarn explorers discovered Earth, they dismissed it as an insignificant, primitive world populated by a weak species. Initial scans revealed life, but Earth's technological level was deemed laughable. Humans appeared disorganized, lacking the unity and strength the Skarn valued above all else. Reports from scouting parties only reinforced the belief that Earth would be an easy conquest. Eager for another challenge, the Skarn leaders approved the invasion without hesitation. It wasn't about resources or territory, it was the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of watching their prey scatter before them. Preparations were swift. A massive fleet, one of the largest the Skarn had ever assembled, was dispatched to Earth. Thousands of ships, brimming with soldiers and devastating weapons, approached the solar system with deadly precision. The Skarn were confident, perhaps overly so. Their commanders reviewed invasion plans with cold precision, expecting to overwhelm Earth's defenses within hours. Mercy and coexistence were foreign concepts to the Skarn, who viewed compassion as weakness. They anticipated crushing humanity under their might, leaving Earth another trophy in their empire. As they neared Earth, the Skarn's arrogance grew. Their sensors detected only primitive satellites, scattered space stations, and a handful of warships, pitiful compared to their massive fleet. The Skarn warriors grinned with anticipation, eager to prove their dominance once again. But they underestimated Earth. The invasion began with the first wave of landing craft breaching Earth's atmosphere, meeting minimal resistance. The Skarn's confidence soared, but their expectations would soon be shattered. Humanity, far from being defenseless prey, showed what it truly meant to face a predator. Earth's governments, shocked and scrambling, quickly activated emergency protocols. There was fear, but it was accompanied by an unyielding determination. Divided nations united against a common threat, their message clear: humanity would not surrender. The Skarn's landing forces struck key locations, planning to establish bases for a full-scale invasion. Yet, almost immediately, they encountered resistance from elite human military units. The Skarn had expected weak and disorganized opposition but were met with a ferocity that caught them off guard. Human soldiers fought with tenacity and ingenuity, employing tactics as brutal as they were effective. Skarn warriors, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies, found themselves outmaneuvered by humans who used the terrain to their advantage. Urban environments, dense forests, and rugged mountains became battlegrounds where unconventional methods inflicted devastating losses on the Skarn. Human ingenuity shone as soldiers repurposed Skarn weapons and adapted strategies to counter their advanced technology. The invaders, forced into a defensive posture, struggled against relentless and unpredictable human attacks. The war dragged on, and the Skarn's initial confidence began to falter. For the first time, they experienced fear. Humanity fought not just to survive but to win, shaking the Skarn to their core. The invaders, once so certain of their superiority, were forced to confront a truth they had never imagined: humanity was no mere prey. As the battle continued, Skarn losses mounted, and their arrogance gave way to desperation. The humans' resilience and resourcefulness revealed them to be predators in their own right, capable of instilling fear even in the galaxy's most fearsome warriors. The tide of battle was slowly changing, but safely, and for the first time the Essen were forced to consider the possibility that they might not win this war. The humans, driven by the instinct to protect their world and their species, showed a level of resilience and adaptability that the Skarn had never encountered. What had been an easy conquest had turned into a brutal and costly fight for survival, and the SN were beginning to wonder if they had made a grave mistake in underestimating the predators that Earth had bred. The initial phase of the invasion had tested their resolve of humanity, but what the faces do not what they understood was that the true strength of the land lay not only in its ability to defend itself but in its ability to fight back with relentless vengeance. As the dust of the early battles settled, human forces gathered not to lick their wounds but to prepare for a counteroffensive that would take the Skarn completely by surprise. The tide of the war was about to turn, and the hunters were about to become the prey. The human commanders, taking advantage of every lesson from history, began to orchestrate a series of counterattacks. Coordinated operations designed to exploit the Skarn's weaknesses. Earth's diverse environments, from dense urban landscapes to sprawling forests and treacherous mountains, became the perfect setting for these operations. The Scorned, accustomed to fighting in more predictable environments, found themselves struggling to adapt. Deeply familiar with their own world, they used the terrain to their advantage, launching ambushes from the shadows, placing traps in the most unexpected places, and using the environment itself as a weapon. Each counterattack was meticulously planned to inflict maximum damage. With precision and efficiency, the human forces attacked with force and speed, disappearing into the landscape before the K could mount an adequate response. What the Karm perceived as chaotic and disorganized resistance was actually a highly coordinated effort to destabilize and demoralize the invaders. The humans were not only defending their territory but were methodically dismantling the invading force of the Skarn, but not only the physical war changed the course. The psychological aspect of the conflict began to play a crucial role. Skarn, once so sure of their superiority, began to experience fear, an emotion to which they were not accustomed. The human forces took advantage of this by employing psychological tactics that sowed confusion and panic among the Karn ranks. Misinformation spread, causing the Karn to believe that they faced forces greater than the ones that actually had decoys and false signals. Lured the Skarn units into ambushes, where the Skarn that had always seen themselves as the supreme predators were quickly and mercilessly eliminated. Of the galaxy were now constantly on the edge, not knowing when or where the next attack would come. Every shadow, every whisper of movement in the darkness filled them with fear. They had come to Earth hoping to crush a weak species, but instead they were being hunted and chased by an enemy that was proving to be far more dangerous than they ever imagined. Human ingenuity played a key role in turning the tables. Scientists and engineers worked day and night to develop new technologies and adapt existing ones to the demands of the battlefield. Drones and unmanned vehicles. They were deployed to gather intelligence and attack targets with pinpoint precision, while cyber warfare units infiltrated Skarn communications, feeding them and destabilizing their operations. The Skarn's reliance on their advanced technology was used against them as humans exploited every vulnerability that the humans could find strategically demonstrated, an adaptability that the Skarn simply could not match where the Skarn expected a conventional war. They encountered a highly unconventional one. The human forces were decentralized, making it difficult for the Skan to achieve a decisive blow. Each unit operated with a high degree of autonomy, capable of making on-the-spot decisions and adapting quickly to changing situations. This flexibility allowed human forces to stay one step ahead as the KH struggled to keep pace with the fluid nature of the conflict as human counterattacks intensified. The KH began to realize the full extent of their miscalculation. They had not only underestimated humans' will to fight but also their ability to innovate, adapt, and change. The very nature of war continued to increase, and with each defeat, their morale fell further and further. The tables had been completely turned, and the predators now found themselves as the prey. What began as a confident invasion was quickly turning into a desperate fight for survival. The Skarn commanders, who once stood boasting of a quick victory, were now faced with the stark reality that they were losing this war. They could no longer deny that the humans were not only surviving, but they were winning, and they were doing so with a level of ferocity and cunning that the Skarn had never faced before. The change of humanity from defense to offense was a turning point in the war. The Skarn who had come to Earth, hoping to conquer it, were now being driven out, their forces decimated and their confidence shattered. The humans had shown that they were not only a capable species of surviving an attack but one that could counterattack with devastating effectiveness. In the end, the Kh were left wondering how they had so severely underestimated their opponents. While the species they sought to dominate turned out to be the most formidable adversary the Karn had ever faced. They had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, but the reality of war had left them battered and reeling. The losses they suffered were far beyond what they had anticipated, and the realization that they had severely underestimated humanity was undeniable. The invaders, before so confident in their superiority, they were now faced with a choice to continue a losing battle or retreat to preserve what remained of their forces, with the Kh opting to retreat by withdrawing their forces from the land. In a desperate attempt to regroup and reassess their situation, however, humanity was not satisfied with simply surviving the wounds inflicted on Earth. The lives lost and the destruction caused by the Skarn invasion, fueled by a burning desire for retribution. Humanity, having demonstrated its resilience and strength, was not willing to allow the Khan to escape unpunished. The decision was made quickly and unanimously. The war would not end with the withdrawal of the Skarn. Humanity would take the fight to them to ensure that the Skarn never again threatened the Earth. The mobilization began on an unprecedented scale. The united forces of Earth, now hardened by the harsh realities of the invasion, prepared to pursue the Skarn across the stars. Fleets were assembled, and the most advanced warships humanity had built were launched into the void. The objective was clear: to hunt down the Essen and make them pay for their aggression. The predators that had come to Earth in search of prey now became the hunted, and humanity was determined to bring the war to their doorstep. As the human fleet pursued the retreating Karn, the conflict expanded. Beyond the confines of Earth's atmosphere, the vast expanse of space became the new battlefield, with clashes fought across distances of light years. The forces of humanity, now driven by fierce resolve, confronted the Sen in a series of brutal space battles. These battles were like nothing the galaxy had seen before, with the human ships displaying a level of ferocity and tactical brilliance that left the cannons struggling to defend themselves against the Karn, who had always prided themselves on their mastery. The spaceships were unprepared for the tenacity of the human fleet. The smaller, more agile human ships than the massive Asker warships used hit-and-run tactics to devastating effect. They attacked hard and fast, exploiting every weakness in the Karn defenses. The once formidable Karn fleet was being dismantled. Little by little, their numbers decreasing with each confrontation. The humans had completely turned the situation around, and now it was the Sen who were on the defensive, fighting for their survival. As the human fleet, it penetrated deeper into the Skan territory. The desperation of the Kh became increasingly evident. The previously proud hunters were now reduced to fleeing from the same species that were looking for their place. They tried to regroup and mount a defense, but the relentless pursuit of the human fleet stopped them. It gave little time to recover. Each time the Scar attempted to make a last stand, they were met with overwhelming force and ingenious strategies that left them reeling. The psychological impact of the human attack was devastating for the Karn. The fear that had begun to take root during the invasion of the Earth was now transformed into total panic. The Skarn, who once considered themselves the apex predators of the galaxy, were now the ones being hunted. Their territories were invaded. Their fortresses fell one after another. The humans showed no mercy or hesitation as they systematically dismantled them. The Khani defenses were pushing them further into the corners of the galaxy. The final blow came when the human fleet reached the Karn homeworld. The Karn had hoped to regroup and make a last stand on their own. But by the time the human fleet arrived, their forces were in disarray, their morale shattered. The humans launched a full-scale assault on the Karn homeworld, a battle that would determine the fate of the war. The Skarn, despite their desperation, were not a rival for the human forces that had come to settle scores. In the end, the once mighty Oscan Empire collapsed under the weight of human fury. The proud hunters who had sought to dominate the galaxy were left in ruins. Their territories invaded their fleets, destroying humanity. He had not only survived the invasion but had transformed the situation into a decisive victory that would alter the balance of power in the galaxy. The message was clear: the Earth does not breed prey, but predators, and those who dared to challenge humanity would face the full extent of the threat. Strength of a species that had proven to be the true supreme predator. The galactic hunt, as it came to be known, marked a turning point in the history of the galaxy. Humanity had taken the war to the Skarn and had emerged victorious, leaving a lasting legacy that would be remembered for generations. The Karn, once feared and respected, were now a cautionary tale. A reminder to all that Earth was not a world to be trifled with. The predators of Earth had claimed their place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war that had begun with the Laskan's confident invasion of Earth reached its cataclysmic conclusion, home to the Karn, once the galaxy's most feared. Predators were now on the horizon, on the brink of total annihilation. Their last hope, a desperate defense of their home planet, was quickly crushed under the relentless assault of the human fleet. The battle was fierce, but the outcome was never in doubt. Humanity, driven by the desire to end it once and for all, with the Skarn threat unleashed. The full force of his military might in a matter of hours. The Skarn defenses were obliterated, his capital reduced to ruins, and his once proud empire brought to its knees. With the fall of the Skarn homeworld, the war was effectively over. Humanity did not. There was only the Skarn, who once saw themselves as invincible, who were now a shattered remnant of what they once were with their territories occupied. Fleets destroyed and their people scattered, the reign of terror they had imposed on the galaxy for so long had finally come to an end.